And hello, everybody. Welcome to Magneticor's Let's Talk. And today we're going to be talking about identity. I want to just give a little quick shout out to who's in the room with us today. We've got a couple of the Magneticor coaches. We've got Laura, Ginny, Sarah, and Corey in the room. And then we've got a little handful of others, coming in, joining us today too. So I appreciate that. A couple things, just getting started, a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, we're going to have a little bit of go around at the end where we check in with everybody. If you do not want to be on camera, please go ahead and turn off your cameras. And that way we'll also know to not call on you if that's the way you'd like it to be. And then also just to make sure we maintain a high quality sound in our Zoom life, if you would all be so kind as to keep your mics on mute unless you're speaking. That just helps a lot of things, right? For external disturbances and that kind of thing. I want to give a little shout out. Last week we talked about values, and what it is, where our values come from and why they're important and how they're useful. And today we're getting into identity. All right. So, all right, whose values are these and why do they work? Right. So who are you now with these new values? Right. Sarah, what do you got to say about values?
Well,
excuse me, identity, not values, identity.
I was going to say values. I spoke at length about values last week. But yeah, once you have an idea of what your values are to be in order to shape the reality you're looking for, the next thing you have to do is kind of sort out who do you need to be, which isn't to say that you need to entirely change yourself, but who do you need to be? Who are you now? So identity, what is it? What really is your identity? And so, Corey, definitions. Do you have a definition, official definition of identity?
Yeah, I went to, the almighty internet dictionary and looked up a couple of different places, a couple different dictionaries, and I found some kind of cool definitions. And I kind of picked three of the different definitions that I found. And the first one is the characteristics determining who or what a person or thing is. And let me read that again. The characteristics determining who or what a person or thing is, right? So what makes us? So this is, we can easily see that values kind of plug in here. Like who are we? Who do we think we are? Another definition of the three is a close similarity or affinity, right? All of a sudden things that are similar coming together, reflecting and mirroring each other, which I think that was kind of an interesting definition. And then this one I thought was the most thoughtful, was a transformation that leaves an object unchanged. Now let me say that again. A transformation that leaves an object unchanged. And to me, as we were looking at this and we were talking about this in our prep session for today's call, it's like, wow, and a change in our identity, a transformation is becoming more of our true selves. I thought that was really thoughtful, really amazing, kind of a cool thing. Anybody have any feedback about that? Anybody?
Well, I'm going to take a stab at that because a lot of the conventional wisdom and the internet advice talking about, becoming a whole new person, you're going to be a whole new man, whole new woman. No, not exactly. I mean, yeah, but no. So the idea of changing kind of sets some people a little bit back, thinking maybe they're not good enough. Who they are isn't good enough for what they want, and they need to become somebody else. And that's not at all what we're saying. What we're saying is you've likely become somebody else just by working through your old values, by presenting a particular face, like who are you when you show up at work, right? Mm-hmm. Who are you in front of your children? Who are you in front of your parents? who are you when you're hanging out with your friends or at a social hour? You know, all of these different versions of you, and you can get to a place in life where you've got mask after mask after mask, and you're presenting what you believe needs to be projected in order for you to have success in those situations.
Similar to the
So when we're looking at identity, consider the idea that you're being less it's less projecting and more embodying, more of who you really are. So although other people's perception of you may change, you're not really changing who you are. You're becoming more of who you are and less
Sarah,
of what you think other people need to see.
I'm sorry, Sarah, I wanted to add that because when Corey just said that, Corey, could you read that last definition just one more time?
I sure can. A
Want you to hear it.
transformation that leaves an object unchanged.
Now, how, when you, if it's transformed, how could it be unchanged? If you transform, so I heard that right away, which then rang true with what Sarah said. You can transform all day long, but you still are innately, you're unchanged, right? You're still.
You can transform your behavior, transform your values, transform your environment. You can transform your life, but who you are, the core of who you are, is who you are. And
Right
so
on.
as we build up who we are less needing of those masks and those projections and those that the way we face our lives is more true to our self.
Right. One of the things I think a lot about is how many identities are we watering and nurturing throughout our day. And Sarah, you alluded to this a minute ago when, like, who are you at home or with your lover, in front of your boss, or when you're scared or when you're confident, these different parts of yourself. And where did you learn to behave that way in those circumstances or environments? You know, like, I think a lot about the painted facade of like how we present ourselves to the world, you know, and like when I'm in front of people talking and teaching, that's a very different energy than when I'm frightened or when I'm with people in trauma, right? All of a sudden there's a different part of me and a different skill set that arises to the front, right? So then I think as we do this work in coaching, you know, who are we and how many identities are we currently using in a good way, you know, brings to me the question forward for me is, okay, well, what about some of these identities in my own self? And as I'm working with my clients in my practice, as well as in this environment of conversation, what about these pieces that no longer serve us? Pieces of our identity that we put in place, we chose, we used these old identity patterns and beliefs and values and behaviors that got us to where we are now. But now all of a sudden that's a squeaky wheel. And all of a sudden there's an invitation to grow and to change again, you know? So I think that's kind of an interesting
right. And to
thing.
that point,
go, Sarah.
Sorry, to that point, Corey, when you're talking about things that no longer serve you, it's important to recognize and be grateful and appreciate that those things, if they no longer serve you, they served you at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, just because the fork was super useful at supper does not mean you need to carry it around in your hand through your entire day, just because it served its purpose at lunchtime, right? You don't need to carry everything around all the time. You could go pick it up again if it becomes useful again, right?
Yeah. All right. You know, so I love this. We're moving into, you know, the facades that we hold up to the world, how we show ourselves to the world, well-made, handmade, chosen facades about how we present ourselves to the world. You know, where do we hide? Where do we show up? But I want to ask a little bit, kind of referring to that third definition about unchanged. Who are you really? Who are you, the person that gets to change these parts of you, to have a higher quality growth experience toward what you're creating in this life? Who are you deep down? What is your true nature? And some of these things then, like when we get into things that are difficult, some of these goals that we're reaching out to achieve, some of these things that appear hard, or some of these things that we've tried endlessly and haven't quite figured out the success for them. So what is keeping you from stepping into the light of this new gift of your identity? Is it your identity that's keeping you back? Or some of these beliefs and identities, are you keeping you stuck? What are the messages and the silent messages attached to your identity and self-talk, right? Current identity.
Right.
Who
All of those
now?
silent messages, the silent messages and the fears, the doubts, right? All of that internal dialogue that's disallowing your ability to show up as you.
So I'm curious. My question to both of you and anyone else is that if I look back at who I was and I look forward to who I really think I am, who do I think I am? How difficult, can I put down being someone that doesn't follow through? Can I put down being a procrastinator? Is it possible to put it down and actually pick up integrity, someone who follows through, someone you can because if I am who I am and I can transform, is it just as simple as noticing and being aware of what the identities, characteristics I didn't like, and then practice adapting some ones that I do?
Well, I think we're going down that process in the chat today about what we can do. I think we're going to hit some of those points as we go through this session today. And I think we're going to get there, Kim. I really do. And I thank you for throwing that out there, because that's what we're here to do. That's
exactly the question, right? That's the question.
Yeah,
Can
absolutely.
I do anything about it?
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
I'd love to throw something out there just before we move into that. Years ago, I was doing massage therapy, and if you're around me enough, you'll hear me say this over and over and over, because it's a really defining sentence that came to my mind in the middle of a craniosacral therapy session. And I'd been doing a lot of soul searching and what are we here for? It's one of those moments in my life. And this sentence just dropped into my mind, and the sentence was, we're here to be the best and fullest expressions of the unique creations that we are. And I love that sentence. And I've really grown.
Say it again.
We're here to be the best and fullest expressions of the unique creations that we are. And there are a couple of really beautiful pieces to that. Fullest expression, right? And that's what this work is about. And the unique part is there too. So we come here, Kim, you were talking about, who I was and who I am. And there was a who we were before we even came here, There was a who we were when we came into this world. And what in doing this work and other work, what I've come to think of sort of layers that have been programming that's come in and gone on top of that unique, me that came here, the programming, the negative beliefs, these, values I created along the way that aren't serving that full expression, So when I think about doing this work, I think about removing, almost like they're energetic splinters that interfere with that expression, and the work lifts the splinters away and the layers away, and then that same us is still there, just fully able to be who we are in this life. So we're not changing who we actually are. We're just like all of you have referred to, just being a fuller version of ourselves.
So Lara, I hear you saying I'm not changing. I'm just unplugging the undesirable and plugging in, because I already have it all, right? I can unplug the ones I don't want and plug in the ones I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Remove the interference. Let that,
Cool.
you know, yeah.
One thing I'm hearing here is, you know, we've referred to this a little bit, especially in that third definition of identity about staying the same, is that, you know, who we are versus who we think we are. I think now I think we're getting into some gravity here, you know,
I
like
love
who we
that.
think we are. And I also want to throw in right here, you know, this is one of my really rich beliefs about the human experience, is that everybody at every age, without question, is doing the very best they can with what they have in the moment, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and so knowing that and believing that, boy, you know, when, like, especially when I've got a client who's coming in the door who really needs some guidance or help or support or acknowledgement, you know, and we can meet them there, you know, and we can help them get there, you know, say, okay, you know, your old belief systems that created the identity you're inside of now, you know, is protecting you. It's keeping you safe, right? And it's giving your unconscious, the 95% of your brain capacity, the power to keep you in that safe bubble, right? That means it's doing its job. It's doing it right. It's doing it well.
Right.
Right?
I love how I highlight there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the mechanism of how it works. And then where are your choices within that? But you also need to recognize all of the self-talk is, you know, you hear your parents' voice in your head, or you hear what you should do, what you shouldn't do, how you should be, how you shouldn't be, how you have to be. All of those things come up as you're, you know, doubting or trying to express who you are, right? And so as you're taking a look at who you are, and you know where the first several years of your life, you were told who you were. And so that's what you learned. You learned exactly who you were in relationship to where the environment you were born into. And it served you well to be fed and cared for and raised and kept safe, to grow you and allow you more choice and more choice. And one big choice that some people don't notice they even have is that you can choose who, you know, how much of yourself you're going to express. You can choose how much of your true self you're going to show the world. And the inner conflict and all of that self-talk can begin to be released as you get comfortable being you.
Yeah. I love the reference to, you know, when we're born and we show up as children, you know, be that with mom and dad or whoever raised us, the adults that took care of us. So much of our identity, our self-talk, comes from the rules that we learned living in that world. Then we hit teenager land. All of a sudden, we're reaching out in the world. We're going to be self-supporting, and we take those lessons into a new environment where the rules are different, and we get to rewrite those rules. So, like a few minutes ago, we were talking about the facades that we use with our family and our boss and our lover and those kinds of things. Well, I also want to bring that metaphor of the facade about how we talk to ourselves. Like, how do you speak to yourself when you win, right? How do you speak to yourself when you totally blow it? Biggest mistake of the universe, right? Are you supportive for yourself, or are you mean to yourself, right? What's going on in your self-talk, right? And I think so much of how we talk to ourselves manifests in everything that we do especially when we're reaching out to do goals and achieve things and make things and create things and interact, that shows up. There's a ribbon that laces through that cosmic tapestry of everything, right? How do you talk to yourself? Are you loving or are you mean? Or any of the other choices? But I think that's kind of an amazing wake-up call to say, okay, I want to create something and I'm going to love myself enough to make a change. All right. Boy, if you're having a hard time doing some self-love, well, what a lovely place to start with a new identity. Okay. This new identity is going to say, all right, I'm going to grab you and hug you, as opposed to put you in your corner and yell at you. I'm going to say, all right, I understand. Let's take a pause. And we're going to implement a new way of doing things together, you and yourself, a relationship with yourself, a new conversation in choosing who you want to be, right? Who do you want, and why would you want to desire to shift and change your identity? What's working and what isn't working, right?
In that lane, we're talking about your self-talk, and a lot of your self-talk can come. I mean, we've talked a little bit about, the human journey. We've talked a little bit about, your values and planning and how to, take the power back in the life you're creating for yourself. We need to be aware that self-talk, there's a lot of self-talk that comes from those sabotaging identities, which is a conversation for another day, because that's another solid hour on the sabotaging identities.
Yeah.
But if you even just recognize when it might cross your mind, I don't deserve that, I'm not worthy, oh, maybe I don't belong here, or maybe I'm not important enough, or maybe all of that built into the human experience, just recognize it and give it the cold shoulder, and we'll get into those on another call.
You guys have pulled it out of me once again. It just occurred to me that this self-talk, I've been preaching to love. I've been practicing to love myself as much as I love others, which has made a huge shift for myself. But you just made it. There are things I say to myself that I would never say to another human being, nor would I allow another human being to say them to me. So that was a great practice that I can do to myself to make my internal speech what it should be. Talk to myself as good as I talk to others. Be as supportive of myself as I would be to others. I thank you for that.
Even if you have a hard time getting all the way to changing that self-talk, know that you have an edit button and you can hit pause on it. You can wean yourself away from the habit of bad self-talk. One of the ways to do that, let's talk about who you want to be and how you can affirm instead of sabotage. So there's sabotaging identities, sure. And, that's going to be a great call. But what about self-affirming identities? Corey, what say you on self-affirming identities on the flip side of that coin?
Well, I want to get into that for sure. And, as we were preparing for this session, I think Laura threw down an Uncle Joe Dispenza quote, breaking the habit of being yourself, right? I thought that's kind of an interesting thing to throw down right here. It's like, okay, we have this old identity that got us here.
Yeah, well, I'll just describe a little. He talks all the time about this, that we've developed these personalities, not the real us, but these personalities sort of on top of who we are. And that personality, he says, is creating your personal reality. So he says, if we want to change our personal reality, what we're experiencing in this life, then we need to change that personality. So not ourselves, not our true selves, but who we're being, those beliefs, those patterns, behaviors, and habits that we have. And I'm going to read this quote because it's so good. He says, according to the newest research on mental rehearsal, once we immerse ourselves in, I'm going to change this a little bit, in a scene, in a future vision of ourselves, changes begin to take place in our brain. So each time we do this, put ourselves into that new self that we want to be in, each time we do that, we're laying down new neurological tracks. We do it in the now, in the present moment, but they literally change our brain to look like the brain of our future. And I just absolutely love that. Because we can, you know, we know from the latest research in neuroscience and neuroplasticity that we can rewire our brains. And so we have all kinds of tools to do that, but that's what we're talking about here, right?
So we can change and we get to. We
Right.
get to. We really get to. You know? I love that. I think those three words show up a lot in my world. Oh my God, we get to. You get to.
It's so liberating to understand that there is a choice. A lot of people, okay, maybe I can choose, but I wouldn't know where to begin. I wouldn't know how. And it's like, we know how, and you do get to. And it's super liberating. It's super exciting. So you have to think about, okay, since it's possible, who do you want to be? Who are you going to choose to be? Who are you? Right?
All right. So instead of, you know, talking about the self-sabotaging identities, which we will do a session just on that, which will be an awesome session, because boy, what a lovely way to understand what we don't want so that we can identify what we do want.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So I'm going to do a quick little version of that switchcrafting right here, right now. So the first self-sabotaging identity, I'm not worthy. Bam. It's now I'm worthy. All right. Now I'm going to try this on. I'm worthy. That means I go for what I love, right? I am enough. I am good. I get what I want. Right? And all of a sudden, I'm in touch with the feminine. I'm in touch with planning. I'm in touch with nurture. I'm in touch with creation because I'm worthy. Wow. I can't wait to do a session on the self-affirming. Wow. I'm excited
we'll do
for
that too, Corey. We'll do that too.
Yeah. So the another one is I'm not good enough. So I'll say, boom, Shazam, switchcraft. I'm good enough. And not just good enough. How about I'm good? I'm good.
How about I'm enough?
Yeah, I'm enough. How about more than enough? Everything you need, right? And then all of a sudden, when you're enough and you're good and you have those things, it's easy to put yourself into that mindset of, if I'm enough, that means the bills are paid, the chores are done, everyone's warm in their bed, and we get to play. And now what are we going to do? Right? Wow, what a cool place to be. Right? Next one, I'm insignificant. Boom, you're significant. Wow, now you're seen, right? Now you're in the light, right? Now you're being seen for more. You're being seen for the love you carry. And now you've got goals that you are achieving. You're actually in an action step of doing things because you are significant. The next one, I don't belong. Boom, Shazam, you belong. You are in the circle. You're in the link. You're hooked up. You know, right now you're with your tribe where you need to be, right? And now instead of being scared of judgment, you're the one who stands in confidence. You found your place, right? Now instead of being obsessed with finding love, you just are love. Wow, belonging. What a cool thing. A couple more. I don't have capacity. Boom. Totally capable, right? Now there's enough. There's time, there's money, there's skill.
There's ability.
Yeah, totally. Right? There's no more rules about, I can have that if, right?
Now it's just watch me.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Watch me go. Look at me. Look, mono hands.
Yeah. And the next one, I have to be perfect. All right. Shazam, perfection. You are perfect in all of your imperfections. Right. Shazam. Now, all of a sudden, you're not so worried about the method and the plan. You just do it. You just step in. And with that comes, again, this confidence and this self-love, right? You can take some bigger risks because you know it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. And if you fail or if you make a mistake, no big deal. We all do it. It's just how we learn and grow. All of a sudden, the fear of a mistake doesn't stop you in your tracks. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, I want to make mistakes because, man, nothing teaches me bigger, closer, more personally than knowing that I made a mistake. And now I've learned and can do it right. Wow, what a freedom that is. You get to do it right. Then you can and will and teach it right. And then the last one I've got, this one's a big one. I don't deserve. Shazam. Trade that into, I am deserving. All right, so let's call in your ability to receive, your cosmic receptionist in your heart and soul. All of a sudden.
Receptionist.
Yeah. Actually, the cosmic receptionist keeps coming to our sessions.
You know what? I'm looking at all of this here and I'm being a little bit, as I'm looking at it, I don't want anyone to presume that we're saying that you can snap your fingers and believe it, but you can snap your fingers and choose it.
Yeah,
and if you think about a toddler and you have to keep telling them, and one of these days they're going to get it. You keep telling, keep encouraging, come on, you can do it. Eventually it'll get some traction. Mm-hmm. But you also know that it's you that's being the little toddler with the arms folded saying, no, I don't, nobody likes me, everybody hates me, I'm going to go eat some worms, right? And it's in that where eventually they will build trust, they will build a confidence, they will build the belief. But the first thing is to stop, catch yourself in that negative self-talk. And even if it's just a moment of considering, I don't feel like I belong here. Well, maybe I do. Mm-hmm. If you can manage a maybe, that's enough to stop the traction of the negative one. Takes a while to turn a ship around. But this is one place where you can actually, catch yourself and over time, you can kind of steer yourself back around. Of course, all of our cool tools would do it more quickly, and we can coach and keep you moving in with greater momentum. But if you pull nothing else from this conversation today, consider the negative self-talk. Consider who you're choosing to be. Think about who you might be able to be, and think about maybe what you believe about yourself isn't entirely factual. Maybe it's not true for who you really know you are in your heart, right?
Sarah, when we were getting ready for this session and we were talking and brainstorming, you brought up the metaphor of the security blanket. And I think this is such a sweet little metaphor. If our old or current identity, the one we're working on growing away from, is the security blanket, right? So now all of a sudden I'm underneath this thing and it keeps me warm and it keeps me safe, right? But then I grew up and now the blanket's too small, right? That was my little boy blanket, and now I'm a man and it doesn't quite cover me. And now I'm being invited to grow and change and get a new blanket, And Sarah, you had an interesting spin on that blanket metaphor as well. What was that?
Well, give me 1 second here.
Sure will.
you kind of threw that one at me.
Yeah, sorry for that little curveball.
Which I love, because I had forgotten that I even brought it up.
Yep.
For me, I was thinking about identity and how you kind of get used to it, and it's what you're given. And I was seeing this little person with this security blanket, and it was given to them to provide security. Yeah. It's very, very useful, and it comforts, and it's familiar, and it's all of the good things, and it is a self-soothing technique. And then at some point, when you outgrow it, it gets taken away. And that moment where someone takes away your security blanket, the wiser, caring, parent that wants to help you exercise your independence and see that you don't need that security blanket, will take that blanket away. And when you're that old and you lose your security blanket and somebody took it away from you, you're going to have a fit. It's not comfortable.
Mhm.
And you'll hear people say it's for your own good, or I'm doing this for your own good. Do something for your own good, and understand that if you take a facade, you take a mask off, you take away some of the projection of who you're choosing to be in order to be more you. That's not going to be comfortable right away. It's like going out with no makeup on, for anybody who wears makeup regularly.
Mhm.
But it's like to expose yourself in that way and to not be able to mask yourself, even if it's a choice. It's uncomfortable. And it's going to be uncomfortable initially, but from that prior experience or that knowledge of what it's like when you take a security item away from a toddler, when you are removing external comforts and you're learning to self-soothe, that is something that we've all learned as a human. And this is yet another step of that, where you can remove it, you can set it down, and it's uncomfortable initially, but you know that it's going to let you be more you than ever before.
Oh, I love the uncovering, And I think that's where we came up with that metaphor yesterday, because we were talking about the uncovering of the old into the new. The removal of the old facade that served us very, very well, but now we've outgrown it. It's changed, and now we're doing something else. And so as we embrace a new choice about a new identity in a new belief system and a new set of values that supports these beliefs that we're choosing to grow with, right? This new chosen self-talk, and we get to choose it. So often we react to the entire world, and then we finally grow and learn that we get to choose, and we get to choose well. And I think in that wake up of choice, sometimes we get really hesitant. It's like, oh, I'm afraid to choose because, wow, I'm being told that I manifest what I think about. And so I've been in a mess before. I don't want to be in a mess again. So maybe I'm going to go a little slower. I'm going to think about it a little bit more. I'm going to try on a couple of things before I buy them. I'm going to check it out. And see if that really is what I want. And maybe I think that first thing is what I want, and I get it and I try it. And I realize that really that was a stepping stone to an even bigger awakening, or a better, different dream that you're choosing for yourself. I use the word better carefully, right? Yeah, totally. Very carefully. But as we choose who we are, how do we then adjust and choose our self-talk? How do we have this new relationship with ourself and the person that we want to evolve into, grow into, and become, when we invite our future self to come in and have a chat with us about how to get there? What do they look like? What are they wearing? What's their confidence level? What's the energy that they carry as they come to help us now? Wow.
And we need to learn it. And we can be open to learning it, but you need to actively learn it. When you're learning to ride a bike, you get on, you fall, you try again, maybe a different bike, you're going to work it out in order to learn. And one of the ways that you learn and allow yourself to learn and allow yourself a little bit of flexibility, but you can put some structure around it. Right. And we were talking about that another day, but you can put some structure around it and take a look at how others that you admire are behaving.
Right.
How are those choices being made? Learn from them, learn and try it on, and maybe make a different choice, or maybe make a choice a different way. And you're allowed to play around. You put that structure there, you've got a little bit of play in there where you can test and see. And it's not an overnight transformation or unveiling or uncovering, but it's an easy flow, right? As you're practicing and looking at who do you want as a mentor? Who do you want as a teacher? Who are you going to look to in order to most gracefully take those masks off, set those things down, and just shed all of the projection as you go. Little by little, it just starts falling away as you make those choices. And I think that looking to mentors and looking to teachers and looking to people that you admire for being really authentic and having a lot of integrity, you can learn a lot just from observing that.
I got to throw heroes in that list.
Heroes.
Right. Heroes. Yes.
Right. Heroes, mentors, teachers. Who do you respect and why? Why are these people your heroes and mentors? Why? What's the reason that they have caught your attention? Right? What is, because the student shows up when the teacher's ready. The teacher shows up when the student is ready. It just happens. And so once again, we're calling in the cosmic receptionist. Are you receiving the learning? Are you seeing it there in front of you? And then I want to call in the importance of also seeing who's on a similar path to you, right? Who's growing with you? Who can you volley ideas back and forth and say, hey, I'm feeling clumsy, but I'm also feeling confident and I want to try it out. I want to bounce an idea off of you. I want to prove it to myself, but I got questions still, right? And then one step further, oh my gosh, I've gained a little confidence and I'm experiencing a shift and I'm feeling good about it. Who can you talk to about it? Who can you step up and be the teacher, be the hero, be the mentor, right? That's also the learn, do, teach right there. You learn it, then you go out there and you do it, and then you talk about it, right? You activate this world, you put it into your world, right? So this kind of makes me think about how affirmations, where are you affirmed in your action? Where do our affirmations come from? What is it? In the self-help world, in the spiritual world, we learn to write down our affirmations and then to go through and repeat them to ourselves every day. I am successful. I am worthy. I am enough. I am good. I am perfect. Wow. There's a whole list right there of the self-affirming beliefs, right? As well as, who do you want to be? I want to be successful. I am successful. I want to be abundant. Okay. I am abundant. And where do you find those things? This new level of self-talk, right? And then how do you stay accountable to your self-talk? Or maybe you need some help discovering what self-talk can be, especially if you're experiencing trauma or you're stuck. If you're really in a hard place, you've had a really hard time and you're trying to figure out what to do with some of those darker emotions, well, there's help to be had. Once again, your own heroes, your own tribe, but also coaching. We all need a coach. I need a coach, you need a coach. We're learning coaching to be coaches for each other, especially in this sanctum, this inner sanctuary of what we're doing here in this group. But as we step in to what are next steps, what are the next steps? If we're going to make it and choose and step into and breathe emotion and life into a chosen identity, how do we do that? What are the steps? Anyone?
I'd love to throw something out there. The first thing that a couple of things that have come up. Sarah was talking about, some things that made me think the first step is really awareness, starting to notice. When I learned about the sabotaging identities, I spent a week and I gave myself the task to just notice when I was falling into those. When we're doing negative self-talk, when we're being mean to ourselves, because these are habits. We've developed all these beliefs that have become, turned into habits. We habitually speak to ourselves negatively. We habitually repeat these beliefs. And some of those are going to be easier to break than others. So just in the noticing, we may be able to shift some of those fairly easily, right? Some of them are bigger security blankets and they may linger, but as we shift the ones that we can easily shift, that's going to free up our energy and the space to work on the other ones. And then we'll know which ones really need our attention. But another thing is that Corey was talking about earlier in the conversation that we're doing the best we can at all times. And with this work or any other, work where we're doing these changes, I think of a GPS, and you've got a starting point and an ending point, and you just plug them in. The GPS doesn't care where you're starting. It's neutral. It's just a point. It's just a location. And if we can think about, where we are is just a location, then we don't have more negative self-talk come in saying, oh, look, I failed. I did it again. I have that negative belief again. So just the idea of being neutral and just being okay with where we are. And then the other thing was just that I've done, all different kinds of work like this. And I lived with a roommate at one point. We went to all kinds of seminars together, and it was the best thing to come home. And we both had this new understanding, and we would hold each other to it. And so the importance of a tribe or a coach or people who share the same worldview that you now have, to help hold you into to what you're doing and help keep you accountable, but also to notice when you're a little bit off. It helps keep us on track. So yeah.
The accountability piece is so important. And I think that's one of the main services that a good coach will provide you is the accountability to the mission you're claiming for yourself as a client, right? As someone who's, wanting to put yourself out into the opportunity to grow again, right? And I love that.
In talking about, coaching and the role of a coach, is getting a coach. Getting a coach is simply an acknowledgement that there's blind spots that you might not see. It's soliciting another perspective from someone who understands what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go. And so, as coaches, we have coaches. Mm-hmm. And it's not, there isn't any filter or judgment on whether someone needs a coach or doesn't need a coach, or the idea of coaching and the idea of the accountability and noticing a blind spot and providing a different point of view and catching us. Sometimes our coach will catch us before we even notice it, and we get better at catching ourselves. Mm-hmm. So with all of that going on, it's just so helpful. And then being able to be in a community where you can discuss these things, notice what's happening, and you can navigate with greater and greater efficiency, because it takes practice to choose to be you, authentically, in integrity, be you, and you are the predominant creative force in your life. And that takes some practice, because we're not raised to be practiced at it, and it needs to be a learned thing.
In identity, we're talking about how to find a new one, right? How to get that? How do you even get that on your radar? And let's go to the coaching or the identity cafe and get the identity menu, and let's look at the identity options with all of the identity sidecars and side dishes. Let's check that out for a minute. And I think part of the role of coaching is to, one, find the menu and get it out and explore it together. And I think that's part of what the lenses process is all about. It's like, all right, let's put this new fancy lens in my glasses so that I can see a little differently. I want to bring things into focus that weren't there before, but now I'm growing. I've got a hunger or a need or a desire or an opportunity to change and grow again. And now I might be feeling a little hesitant to grow again because I don't know what to pick from. Okay, awesome. Well, we can do that. We can do that work together. You know, and the thing that is so magnificent about one, my role as a coach working with clients who don't think about coaching, they're thinking about their life, right? The parallel conversation that in this group, a lot of us are coaches, and we're coaches coaching each other, where all of a sudden we can roll up our sleeves and go deep and go big with our coaching toolbox, and how each of us has a very unique and powerful toolbox that's different than everybody else's toolbox. Those of us coming from Magnetic Mind, okay, great. We all have that brand new set of tools and they're awesome. But what about all these other modalities, these other amazing tools of self-discovery, right? Most of which are around picking an identity that's serving your current dream that you would like to come true as we step into creator mode. Sarah, yeah, bring it up.
Well, I was thinking about as you were talking, and I thought, okay, well, you know, as we're choosing and we're looking at the identity menu, if you will, and okay, allowing for the possibility that maybe things could be different, right? Mm-hmm. It's like there's a whole lot of theory, but I just wanted to call some attention to the whole lot of research. And when you're working with someone who understands the mechanism of how a human brain processes information, and we're like, oh, I see what's happening there. And it can be identified because you're not in it. When you're in it, you can't see it, right? So to step back, you're practicing being able to observe yourself from a higher perspective, from the superconscious perspective, right? And observe your own existence, your own behavior, your own feelings, your own thoughts and patterns. But a coach is there to do that for you as you learn it, right? And we can actually see when there's a mechanism that's you know, firing in your mind, and call attention to it. When we're talking about choosing something differently or thinking about something differently, like that train of thought is a phrase that's often brought up, or I can't go down, don't you go down that road. It's literally a path inside your brain of where the little neurons are firing along the synapse path, right? And we can notice when that's happening, call attention to it. And because of all of the neuroplastic research, because of all of the science around how a brain can be trained to think differently, meaning it can connect itself differently, rewire itself, we can provide structure around that. We can help you think about something the way you want to think about it. And that's why we're always talking about the power of choice and talking about what do you want, because it doesn't matter what you want to me as a coach. What matters is once you've decided for yourself, I don't have a vested interest in where your destination is, but I am fully invested in getting you there in the quickest, most efficient, most pain-free way possible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got to say it. What if your train is on time? What if you're not broken? What if you're nailing it? What if you are doing it perfectly and now you get to grow again and choose again? What if the perfection got you here, you continue to be perfect, and you choose how you want to feel? Now, I want to bring emotions into this. If choosing a new identity, one of the, a simple first step, especially like in the context of this 1 hour session of identity, who do you want to be? A shortcut, the thing to do first in my mind is make a list of how you want to feel. How do you want to feel? Maybe that's not how you're feeling right now, and maybe you've got some tragedy or a diagnosis or some heaviness, or you're stuck in an old pattern that just can't seem to break away from it. All right, awesome. turn that upside down and say, okay, well, what would I like to feel? What would I love to feel? And to decorate that list, decorate it.
And
Yeah.
if you need vocabulary for that, in our Facebook group, there's a document there. There's a printable diagram with all of the feeling. Well, not all of them, but so many feelings on this whole wheel. And you
Emotion wheel. Yep.
You can refer to that emotion wheel and dig up some words.
Right.
And help
Instead of
yourself
7,
nail it
try
down.
30 or 40 words you can choose from. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. So then, okay, obvious next steps. 1, choose your emotions. Think about your heroes and your mentors, you know, the ones that catch your eye. Ooh, I want to be like that, or I want to have that, or I want to do that, you know, and look, get a little dream board. Get something outside yourself that you see all the time to help you remember what you're growing toward. And then I think also, you know, get some accountability, get some help, get a coach, ask for what you want, put the ask into the universe, and then put the ask into whoever's right there with you. Do the asking. There's power in asking. Big time, big time. I love that. I love that so much.
I love
you want to
the
open it up?
idea of asking, because and a lot of people feel like it's a approach with, you know, your hand out and please sir, may I have some more, kind of, you know, coming from a place of lack, and to use your term, you switchcraft that particular idea. To ask is to give the other the opportunity to give, to share, to grow in and of themselves. So asking is just opening a door of opportunity for all people that are involved. So I would just call attention to asking isn't saying please give or I need, so much as it's saying let's collaborate.
Or what if?
What if?
What if?
What if?
Yeah. I think prayer, and I think recodes, and I think all of these things are a way to ask for what you're growing toward. I think it's kind of a cool thing. It's an incredibly cool thing.
You can really play around with asking too. You can ask, what would it be like to feel really happy? Because when you ask open-ended questions like that, your mind naturally goes searching for answers, and it will go and find iterations of that feeling, even if you're not feeling them now. So just to be in the practice of asking questions, even open-ended questions, you can pull things up and just change the language that's going on inside.
I love that. Thank you, Laura. That's so lovely. And so what I'd like to do is do a quick open up and just say if there's any aha moments at the end as we wrap things up today. Anybody want to chime in with a little insight or aha moment? Anybody in the group today want to show up? Anyone? Anyone? Yeah, come on, Nicole. Bring it up.
Hey, you guys.
Hi. Welcome.
Yeah, loved it. And then one of the things that I found quite helpful for when you have that awful little voice that we've all got going, you can't do it. You can almost either speed them up or slow them down and make them a cartoon voice. And that's really, really fun. So I just wanted to offer that.
Love that.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Super fun.
Right on. Yep. Thank you, Nicole. Anybody else? Anybody else have something to offer? A little aha moment or insights? Yeah, Maggie, bring it up.
Hi, excuse me, I'm in my 90.
Hi, Maggie, in your 90.
I just had a bit of an aha moment that when you take an action, it's a task. And the word task is made up of T and ask.
Oh, interesting. Thank you for that. I'll have a cup of tea with my ask.
Right.
Yes,
So
please.
to complete a task, there's nothing wrong with asking for support and guidance.
In fact, there's
Taking
everything right
advantage
about
of
it.
the opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, Maggie, thank you. So nice to see you, Maggie. Thank you for sharing.
When
Anybody else?
hi,
Elizabeth. Yeah. Hi, Elizabeth.
hello everybody. I'm glad I got here. Okay,
Nice to
so
see you.
when she was talking about, you know, asking for help, what came to me is a lot of people don't like to ask for help
Mm-hmm.
because they think if they're asking for help, there's something wrong with them.
Right.
And there isn't,
Mm-mm.
you know, because we're all here for each other.
Right.
And each one of us has something to offer and to add to the greatness that we already are. And when we're able to accept and to receive that, it brings us to another place as well to see our very own greatness
Mm.
that's in ourselves. So
Beautiful
yeah,
when
I
it
tried
grows
to add
into.
that was my little aha. I was like, oh, that's what
It's
it
so
means to
juicy,
me.
Elizabeth.
It's like,
Yeah. Thank
like
you.
I had this big,
Love
huge
it.
vision. So yeah,
Mm.
but thank you for this. I'm glad I made it here today.
Well, please come see us more often, Elizabeth. You're always welcome. It's nice to see you
Absolutely.
here.
Thank
Yep.
you.
All right. Anybody? Oh, yeah. Ruth. Hi, Ruth. Unmic yourself.
Yes, I have. So I wanted to apologise for the in and out that I've had. I couldn't get my sound to work on my phone.
Not at all. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. But showing up to say about the asking, that's a really big aha, because both what Elizabeth said, with most people feel it's there's something wrong with them or other people judge them and say something wrong with them, they have to ask for help. And the other one about asking not from a place of scarcity, as you were saying, like from is it Dickens?
Oliver Twist.
Oliver Twist.
Yep.
More. Or not asking from that, but asking from a point of collaboration or functional.
Right.
Functionality, not fun. What was it that we were learning the other day? The circles. A functional relationship, that sort of thing. So rather that it's a lifting up or as Elizabeth said, we each receive from the giving and the asking of it. But anyway, that was just really, really big for me, because I am very much like that. I struggle to ask people, and when I do, it's very much from that scarcity, smaller person. Is it possible that you could do this for me type thing, and it often doesn't come back with good results.
Yes.
Because of that. Yeah.
It brings to mind the idea of, children in a playground, right? I mean, if you're at work as an adult and you're like, okay, and you ask someone to do some piece of work, I'm not able, and so could you do this? And it's got that scarcity kind of built into that model. But if you're a child on a playground and you're making you're in a sandbox making a sand thing, right? You're like, hey, do you want to play?
Yeah.
Or do you want to join in and help me with this? Can you hold that up while I'm doing this? You don't think anything of it when it's in a play context, right?
No, right.
And it's all play. We're all learning and playing around with different choices in our lives and different things that we're going to do, and inviting collaboration is when you get new things, right?
Yeah.
I want to throw down right there. We're talking about asking and the power of the ask, right? And there's the work of Esther and Jerry Hicks, and they wrote the book Ask and It Is Given, right? And from that point of view, it's not coming from that, like, please, so maybe I have some more.
Exactly.
In fact,
you do it better,
it's
Oliver
the
Twist,
exact
than I do.
opposite of standing in your power and asking source, asking superconscious, asking God, asking spirit, asking universe, whatever it is that we're calling that, right? And saying, all right, I have this hunger, this opportunity to grow again, and I'm going to put it out there into the world, and from that perspective, once the ask has been sent out, it's as if it's happening, and now we just have to get out of the way.
Oh my goodness, Corey, I just had this image of a football game, and the receiver's got his hands up. He's like, I'm open, right? You throw me the ball. And that's not him saying, help me, I need the ball. Like it's a totally different thing. But receive it, be open to it, call out for it.
Yeah.
And tag yourself. Like
So-
let's make it my turn right now. Right?
So what do you want? What do you want?
Can I say
Who are you
something?
coming? Yeah, bring it up.
That's it. So, on that note, people feeling like they're asking, oh, I'm asking, blah, 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 blah. A lot of people have a difficult time to ask for anything from source, universe, however they see it, spirit, however it is for them, God, because they seem less than it. And there's a separation there, not realizing that they are it, and they're only simply asking themselves anyhow. It's just the greater aspect of themselves that they're asking. And why wouldn't you give yourself everything you want?
That's beautiful, Elizabeth,
Love
because
that.
that just rolls it right back into identity.
Yes.
And it's like, what are you asking of yourself?
Yes.
And who is that? And that's, that just buttons up our whole hour, Corey.
That's so perfect.
Can I say one
So
more thing?
perfect. Oh my God, it's so perfect. Yep.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
I don't understand the football terms, but I think there's a term called a wide receiver.
Yes.
Yes.
I've just decided I'm a wide receiver.
Oh, well done, Maggie.
Well, the metaphor of the football field with the Gophers.
I'm a wide receiver too. See?
Awesome.
Well,
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I want to throw down a little bit of business here at the end of our session. Well, first of all, thank you all for coming and playing full out and participating in our conversation together. Quickly, next week, same time, same bat channel. Let's talk. Our topic next week will be structure. Structure. We might even totally right. So it'll be this same
I
episode.
saw a
1 week
t-shirt
from today.
recently. It said that structure is the new sexy.
Yep.
And we're going to have to really throw down on structure next week.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm excited for our prep session
How
on that.
sexy is structure. Okay.
Super excited about it, right? Also, day after tomorrow in our membership site, Genius Hub. Those of you who are in with us in Genius Hub, we will be looking at the Magnetic Mind Masterclass Session 2, which topic is magnetic alignment. So those of you who have access to that, you can jump in and get ready because we are going to take apart magnetic alignment.
Make sure that you watch the session before Saturday.
Yep, totally. Please do. Please get your homework done and get it ready. Yeah, sweet.
Okay.
Anything from Laura? Anything from Sarah as we close? All right. Awesome. Well, I just want to say,
I'm sorry. There is one more thing. At the opening, you identified that, as far as our coaches here, that Ginny and Lara and yourself and I, and Kim entered the room a little bit later, and we didn't recognize Kim as one of our coaches. So welcome, Kim, and thank you for being here.
Right on. So, all right, as we wrap things up today, I just want to say thank you for coming home. Every single one of you. We look forward to this time. We love preparing for this. And it's one of my favorite things to do all week is spend time with you. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming to Magneticor's Let's Talk. Loving you so much. Be safe out there in the world. Cheers.
Mwah.